Hi everyone, Bandana here, I hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the new Tempest Rising demo. Have you tried it? If so, let me know down in the comments below what you thought as well. I'm quite curious if people have similar thoughts to me, or if people are finding it a bit different to how I found it. Now, I'm sure many of you have played the previous demo, and if you haven't tried the new demo, I do recommend you go and give it a go, so you can compare the two. In the latest demo, you can actually play as both the GDF, or GDI, and also the Tempest Dynasty, aka the nod of this little world. Because basically, this is the story of C&C, right? You've got Tempest, which is effectively Tiberium, and, you know, how close could you get a game to being Command and Conquer without being sued by Electronic Arts? Well, I'm pretty sure this is as close as you're gonna get. I would just note, by the way, if you do download the demo, when you're on the screen before you go into the campaign mission, there's one for each faction. When you're on that screen, you can actually choose some upgrades, which may or may not take effect in the mission, because the upgrades you get there don't seem to necessarily relate to the same units you'll get in the mission. I guess because in the main game it'll be different from what you're getting in the demo. Well, I, for example, went for the passive healing ability for the infantry out of combat for the Global Defense Forces. But spend a little time looking through them and having a read. It is quite interesting, and it's nice that they sort of added something else in. It reminds me a little bit of the upgrades you got in Command and Conquer Generals, but you seem to do them outside of the actual game map, so you're doing it before you go in. The reason I mention this is it just doesn't tell you when you get in the game what any of that is. You just kind of end up exploring it yourself. A couple of notes on the missions and what they are. So the GDF one that you might play first, I played that one first. That one is kind of a defense and then destroy mission. And the other one for the Tempest Dynasty is more of a attack, and rescue a VIP. So straight away, what I will say is the game is still very, very pretty. And if anything, they've made it look prettier. All the unit models now feel a better size. Everything just fits better. Don't get me wrong, it's obviously still a video game like the C&C games where things aren't necessarily the size they would be in real life compared to each other, but it just works. It looks a lot better, because I felt like the sizing in the previous demo looked really weird at times, and I'm not sure why, but they seem to have fixed that. So graphically, definitely an improvement. And it's still looking very, very nice. But I would expect that. It's an Unreal 5 game, so I would expect it to look good. On a side note, I'm hoping we're going to see a lot more RTS games and strategy games in general in the Unreal Engine. They have spent time in the last few years putting out guides and instructions and things like that for the Unreal Engine to do RTS, and that's why I think we're seeing a few more of those now. So what about the gameplay? Because I suppose that's the main thing, and there have been some changes. The controls are a lot better. The big thing that I did think is, as I was playing, was just this constant in the back of my mind, I need the hotkey for that, I need the hotkey for that. That's not something I generally found in a lot of Command and Conquer games. It's something I associate more with StarCraft 2, possibly Age of Empires 4, but you can kind of get around Age of Empires 4 as long as you're not playing at a really high level. But here I did keep feeling as I was playing as though I wanted to click hotkeys. Now, obviously, there's plenty of hotkeys, you can learn them all, but it does make me feel like the game's a little bit faster paced in the combat, specifically the combat, than perhaps some of the older Command and Conquer games. Obviously, depending on the level you're playing at. If you're playing as an expert pro-level player, then you'll be using all those hotkeys anyway, but as someone who's generally played RTS sort of more casually, I think that that is a big difference from Command and Conquer. It does feel different. That said, I do think that it's still completely acceptable, the level it's at. I think that most people should be able to get along with it after a little bit of practice, but I've already had a comment where someone had noticed the same thing. So I'm assuming it's not just me that spotted this. But the other nice thing is, I think it'll bring in more StarCraft 2 players, so you'll get more variety of players coming into this game than maybe we would have had if it was just pure Command and Conquer. Now, that's not to say it doesn't feel like Command and Conquer. You know, the whole building systems feel very Command and Conquer. The resource system is obviously very Command and Conquer. There's a bit of variety between the two factions, again feeling very much like the original Command and Conquer. The engineers can put down a guard tower, which very much looks like the GDI one from the original Command and Conquer. In terms of base defenses, we haven't seen them all yet. They're not all available in the demo, but we've got, you know, a minigun and grenade launcher for the GDF, and then for the Tempest Dynasty, we are seeing a flamethrower turret, but I'm sure there's going to be more than that. I'm kind of almost expecting, you know, an obelisk of Nod type thing for Tempest at some point. Maybe, maybe not, but I just have this feeling. But maybe that'll be too close for comfort in terms of Electronic Arts getting shirty with them. Music's great in the game, no complaints there. Sound effects are great, graphical effects on the weapons are really good. Very much enjoying if you zoom in on the tanks, which hopefully I'll find the clip where I did that. You can actually see as they fire more, the end of the barrel gets hotter and hotter. So I thought that was a nice little graphical addition. I also like the fact that the vehicles can run over the infantry. Obviously that's very C&C again. I'm glad to see they've added that in, and it wasn't too difficult to do. I did it a little bit during an assault on a base. The other thing I kind of wanted to mention, which goes back to learning hotkeys, I guess, is the fact that there's a lot of abilities for the units in the game. So I don't think it's that common, especially in the older C&C games, that you had many special abilities for units. They just kind of had their attack or whatever and did their thing. But in this, you obviously have additional abilities. So, for example, you've got an armored personnel carrier that shocks infantry with a special ability. Be careful when you're using this. There's got to be a setting in there somewhere, but I had 2 of them selected and hit the button, and it set off both of them, where I expected it to maybe just set off one. Otherwise, it's going to be a hell of a lot of micro to click one, use the ability, click the next one, use the ability. I think that's something that's a bit different to the old C&C games and is going to take some getting used to, this whole having secondary abilities. I will take a split second of the video just to mention the cutscenes, because they've got like little videos between each of the missions, which the little videos of the missions themselves feel very C&C. You know, the old C&C games where you had the little CGI, very old CGI clips for the missions. That's all in there. And they've replaced what was the real live action videos with basically computer-generated people. And I will say this, the guy who does it for the GDF, he just looks really weird. Like his mouth and when he's talking, it just looks like really uncanny valley. And the thing that came to mind while watching it was, do you remember that trailer for Sonic the Hedgehog, the movie, when they had the really ugly Sonic? It just kind of reminded me of that. Not that it looks that bad, it just doesn't look right when he's talking. I don't know what it is. To be honest, I'm kind of surprised they didn't just go down the route of having live action video again, like the C&C games did. I just assume this saved on costume expenses. I think they know it looks weird though, because in the other videos, when you're talking to the scientist lady for the GDF and sort of your advisor for the Tempest Dynasty, they both have masks over their mouths, like breathing apparatus masks. So I think they know it looks odd, and they've done that so you don't have to look at the strange mouth movement. They might feel differently, but I'm putting it down to that. Overall, I think it's all a massive improvement over what they had before, so I'm kind of glad they delayed the game. I think it did need delaying because the last demo that I let us play was kind of so-so, but this feels a lot better right across the board. There's, you know, improvements everywhere, so kudos to them on that. And I'm certainly looking forward to it more again than I was after playing the last demo, so step in the right direction. But let me know what you guys thought of the demo down below. Curious if you agree that it is a bit more fast-paced than some of the C&C games that came before. I will just note, if for any reason you can't download the demo and play it yourself, do feel free to check out my entire gameplay over on the Bandana RTS Casts and Stuff channel. I'll leave the full gameplay of both missions up there so you can have a look and judge for yourself. There'll be a link to that down in the description. Anyhow, thanks very much for watching. Please, as ever, like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you all soon.